Hey everyone, welcome to episode 8 of the All Dolphins podcast. I am Poupart. He is Omar. Today's kind of a special edition because normally we wait until the weekend, see what happened during the week. But there was the pre-draft press conference on Wednesday, along with pressers by Tagovailoa and Xavien Howard, and there's a lot to come out of those to discuss. So here we are. Guess we'll jump right in, and maybe probably the biggest news to come out of the day was the revelation by Tua that he did contemplate retirement in the offseason, which, given the concussion issues of 2022, wasn't exactly shocking. Your thoughts on what we heard?
I am shocked and stunned that he admitted that. Not surprised, but shocked and stunned, because it opens up Pandora's box, a can of worms. I'm sure a lot of people suspected he might think about it. I'm sure there's been a report that he might have had that discussed to him by his parents, as all parents would do, trying to protect their little one. But you cannot and should not admit that. But this is Tua we're talking about, and he's a different kind of guy. And I love the honesty. I love the candor. I love that he flat out said, this is my life. I've worked too hard to get here. I still have dreams that I want to accomplish, and I'm not ready to give that up. And that's what I took from that conversation. And I totally understand that, considering how hard he's worked to get himself in that position, how hard he's worked to get that 5th year honored and be guaranteed $23 million. And also how hard he's working to get $200 million guaranteed and to get to that next deal, which is ultimately what this is about. And keep in mind, people, I understand everybody thinks Tua's rich because he's made $33 million on his rookie deal, and now he gets $23 million. But $200 million, that's generational wealth.
That's crazy rich. Here's my thing, though. Him saying it or not saying it, number one, after the Cincinnati concussion, he had an interview. I think that was the interview. It might have been the interview with NBC, where he basically acknowledged that his parents were kind of like a lot more serious about this, about like maybe you should think about your future and all that. So as you mentioned, the fact that this would come up in the offseason after he had a second officially diagnosed concussion, there's nothing surprising about it. The other thing is, it doesn't change anything as far as where the Dolphins stand with the situation. It's not like we didn't already know that, let's be honest, he gets another concussion, we got a major problem here. And him acknowledging that he considered retirement in the offseason.
Are you saying another concussion throughout his career, or another concussion this year, this upcoming season?
I would think this year. I think if we're spacing it out, and he's got one like 3 years down the road, and it's the only one he has in the season, I don't think it's got the same impact.
You're worried that there's a Trent Green scramble effect going on here? Is that what you're worried about?
Again, I am not a doctor. I don't play one on television. I don't pretend to know, but I've covered the NFL for a long time. I've covered hockey for a long time. And guys, those things tend to accumulate very quickly. And I know the science supposedly says, and he says, I'm going to leave CT out of it. That's a different conversation. But as far as concussions, I know guys, a lot of guys, it seems they go the entire career without a concussion. And it's boom, 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 boom. And it's happened. There was some hockey players, and some hockey players had that happen. Sidney Crosby was one of the best NHL players of all time, had an issue where he had a couple in a row where it looked like his career was starting to be like a little shaky, but then that happened 10 years ago and he's still going strong. So I don't think it changes anything in terms of his situation with the Dolphins. It's still, the injury risk factor is there. It is with everybody, and fair or not, this is a guy who hasn't played a complete season since what? High school, early at Alabama.
Wow.
Durability.
We've always come into this situation not expecting him to play 10 years, just from a standpoint of he's small. He's got the hip injury. A lot of people wondered whether he'd have a healthy NFL career. The hip hasn't been an issue for 3 years. Mm-hmm. So let's roll the dice. You know where I stand. I'm a Tua guy. Let's roll the dice, see where it is. I'm franchise tagging him next year after his contract's up in 2024, continuing to roll the dice, and we'll see where we are.
Correct. The Dolphins have bought themselves. They have time. They don't need to like do anything drastic. And this is where, as we close it to it, part of our conversation, when Chris Grier was asked about the Jalen Hurts contract in relation to Tua, he kind of said, well, that doesn't apply because by the time the Dolphins have to do something with Tua, the market will have changed because Justin Herbert's going to get paid. Joe Burrow is going to get paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The market will completely reset. We'll not be talking about $40 million for Tua. We'll be talking about $50 million for Tua if he's a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, and for the Dolphins, that's the best case scenario, that at some point they have to pay him that kind of money because that will mean that he will have, elevated himself to being one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, along with showing that he can play a while.
The one thing I will say about Tua is I was very, very intrigued. I understood Chris Grier has always been, Tua is our guy, Tua is our future. Mike McDaniel, Tua is our guy, Tua is our future. But to hear Marvin Allen, who is arguably considered one of the best talent evaluators in the NFL when it comes to college talent, flat out praise Tua and say, hey, this is our guy. We're building around him as well. And not just say it, because I've heard it be said with Ryan Tannehill many times, but to say it with conviction, that was really assuring to hear.
Except this is where I could be the smart ass and the quote unquote Tua hater that everybody excuses me to be, but what else is he going to say?
Yeah, okay, but you could say it the way they said it with Ryan Tannehill as opposed to the way he said it with Tua. There was never any conviction behind the Ryan Tannehill. Oh, he's our guy. It was a very emotional, this is our guy. This is our quarterback. We have confidence that he's going to take us where we want to be. And I was just like, oh, okay, all right. Would they ever have said, we have confidence Ryan Tannehill is going to take us where we want to be? Would you have ever heard that say from a Dolphins official? No.
Okay.
The answer is no. Okay.
We need to move on to the next topic. But that's a fair point.
All right.
Xavien Howard was the other player who spoke. And just the fact that he spoke was interesting because
the fact that he was there was
that's where that's where I was getting to. The fact that he spoke because he was in the offseason program is noteworthy in itself because X usually doesn't go. Mind you, he does have a workout bonus, which I believe is $100,000. So he's got incentive to be there.
You think X cares about $100,000?
No, but I also think there's a bigger issue. And I asked X the question about every week. We keep talking about your groin injuries from last year. It wasn't an X type of year, but yet you made the Pro Bowl. What did you feel about that? And he basically kind of said, I didn't like it because I didn't play like a Pro Bowl. And I love that answer because there are a lot of guys who would have said, hey, I was voted to the Pro Bowl. Obviously, I did some things. And he was like, no, I didn't play like a Pro Bowl guy. So, and I think people, for some reason, the perception as I see, and I saw like a ranking of the top 12 cornerbacks in the NFL. X was 12 or something. Are you kidding me?
X wasn't. Yeah, X wasn't even in the top 10. And right. I was just like, "Woo, that was disrespectful." But I loved it because I know he saw it, and I know that people like him use that as fuel. Yes, was X being a Pro Bowler surprising? Yes. Was it warranted? Yes.
Hell no.
Yes.
No.
Let me explain what I'm saying. Let me explain what I'm saying. Okay. We all know you make it to the Pro Bowl a year after you're really deserving because it's really a status and reputation thing. Now, people in the league will look at people who in the league who play the game and know the game, the people who vote, they'll look at what X does every single week, shadowing the best player's best receiver. Out there, man on man, naked, no safety help. And they will say, and I will argue that nobody in the NFL, probably outside of Aaron Donald on defense, lifts a heavier load game by game than Xavien Howard because nobody's out there shadowing. Jalen Ramsey was not out there shadowing the best NFL receiver on every single given snap. So they put the respect of the heavy load that he's getting, especially playing in that weak defense where all you're doing is playing man. X is shadowing, no help. Come on, man, that's a heavy load.
That's fine, but the results spoke for themselves. He got beat a hell of a lot more than he got beat in previous seasons.
Yes.
And the thing is, he wasn't right physically the whole year. I mean, he talked about he first injured a groin in week 2, injured the other groin in week 3, played in week 4, and gave up that one-on-one long touchdown pass to T. Higgins.
I love how people. Let me interject here. I love when people say, "How many groins do you have?" Well, do you have 2 testicles? Yes, that's just groin is just a polite word of saying you injured your testicles. Yes, you strained your running area down there.
The running area, and he wasn't right the whole year, and he didn't play well because of it. And I will take issue with your comment you made about the Pro Bowl, which, yes, a lot of guys get picked the year later at positions where you don't have the stats to back up your claim. You see a lot of cornerbacks who have either no reputation or have been mediocre, whatever. All of a sudden they get 7 or 8 picks. Boom, they're in the Pro Bowl. For offensive linemen, like Laremy Tunsil made his first Pro Bowl with Houston, I would argue his previous year in Miami should have made the Pro Bowl. His last year in Miami. But
you make it a year after you should.
Correct. But that's offensive line where there's no stats.
Oh, it's all positions. All positions.
Yeah, I see. Again, I disagree with you because I think players around the league are going to look at when they vote, and a lot of fans also, cornerbacks. Oh, damn, guy had 7 picks. Check. Anyway, so the bottom line is, no, to me, when they announced the team and he was on there, I was like, I'm sorry, what? I mean, it was like,
hey, man, status and reputation, baby. Sometimes it pays off.
But I think it would not surprise me if this year not only made the Pro Bowl, but he made the All-Pro team, which to me is more legit because I think X is a hellacious cornerback. I'm not sure he's not the best cornerback on this roster. All due respect to Jalen Ramsey.
I agree with you. I think especially in this scheme where they're supposedly going to be playing more man with Vic Fangio, and X was lit up and seemed super excited, where I'm actually going to be facing the quarterback and be able to get to read routes and jump routes. Oh, and that totally suits his game. It's how he played at Baylor. He can play in both schemes, obviously. But where X is at his best is when there's a chance at the ball, it's 50-50 between him and the wide receiver. Oh, he's going to win. Yep. And we've seen that so much in practice. Which is why we both have that respect for X. I would like to see Jalen Ramsey play before I say practice, before I say, people don't understand why I put so much value and stock in practice, because practice is a game every single day, whereas you just see him for 17 weeks. Well, I see him for 17 games in a period of 3 weeks. So when you see that body of work, you get to see what the skill sets are. And I know Jalen Ramsey is a freakish athlete. I know he's phenomenal. I know he plays with power. He's a safety playing the cornerback position. What I want to see is ball recognition.
Okay. You said that because he does have the INT number. So he does that. But to me, if X is not the best cornerback in the NFL in terms of ball skills, I don't know who is, and he's in the conversation.
You want to get into the Austin Jackson conversation?
Well, no. Yes, I'm leading into this. So the next topic is we're going to move on to the Chris Grier, Marvin Allen press conference, pre-draft press conference, which to me, I've done those every year for, I don't know, I can't even remember. And those, by the way, as Chris Grier said, as he prefaced it, as he started before questions, were the most anticipated press conference for media members where nobody says anything. Well, to me, yesterday,
that's a lie. That's a lie. Let me point out why that's a lie. Because Chris Grier got the points. He clearly went into this press conference wanting to say a couple of things and he wanting to get them out there. Hey, yeah, I need everybody to hear that I have offers to move up into the first round. If I'm considering it, if you would like to make me more offers, let's talk. Also, go ahead.
But you didn't let me finish, because I was going to say that this was the most revealing pre-draft press conference I can ever remember. And as you mentioned, there was some messages that Chris Grier obviously wanted out there. Like one of those was, Dolphin fans, stop obsessing over this. Austin Jackson's the starting right tackle. And among the topics that we will discuss with Chris about Chris Grier and Marvin Allen's press conference, we'll start with that one because I know you love to talk about offensive line.
Listen,
And I know you love Austin
did
Jackson.
you knew he was going to say it. Did you believe it?
I did not know he was going to say it.
Oh, come on. Austin Jackson's been the starting right. Austin Jackson is the starter somewhere for 4 years. Like, you know they're going to say it. They're building up his confidence. His confidence is weak. They know this. They're building it up. And then they're going to let the play on the field knock it back down. And then you do what?
You know what? That's actually a very good point, my friend, because my expectation, I didn't think about it in those terms, but you're absolutely right. Austin is one of those guys who kind of like needs to play with confidence. That's a great point.
They've spent 4 years building up this guy's confidence to be an average NFL player.
I think they're looking for more than average.
They are, which is why here's what I want people to understand about this whole Austin Jackson situation. I knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to say Robert Hunt's my right guard, even though they're foolishly thinking that, oh, Robert's right guard, because they don't want to pay him as a right tackle. Robert can play right tackle. In a pinch, you know what you're going to do. You're going to put Robert Jones in there at right guard, and you're going to play Robert Hunt at right tackle. So don't lie like it's not an option, because it is a damn option. Sorry.
Well, they can always come back and say things change, circumstances.
Things change. Exactly. Yes. You're not going to play Robert Hunt at right guard because you don't want to pay him. Right tackle, because you don't want to pay him like a right tackle. Now, let's put that over there.
And his contract is up after this year.
Yes, exactly. The one very telling thing that Chris Grier said is, hey, I got to look at this roster from the standpoint of guys on one-year contracts. I need to replace them. Okay, thank you for saying that, because you know who's on a one-year contract on your offensive line? Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson, because you're not going to pick up the fifth-year option. That means you got to replace and Dan Feeney and Robert Jones and okay, that's it. That's 5 of your 8 reliable offensive linemen are on one-year deals, and you don't think that, you desperately got to go address your offensive line? Hell yeah, 51's probably going to be an offensive lineman, whether it's a center, a guard, or a tackle, because you rather replace 5. So he said, guys on one-year contracts, we gotta address that. Well, 5 linemen are on one-year contracts. Well, are you going to pay Robert Jones? Are you going to pay Robert Hunt?
I think they'll pay Robert Hunt.
You think they'll pay a lot of people? You think they'll pay Christian Wilkins? You think they'll pay Robert Hunt?
Where's all this money coming from? I didn't say that. There was another South Florida journalist who wrote a column saying the Dolphins absolutely have to extend Christian Wilkins. To me, I think I have moved to the point where this needs to be a wait and see. Let's see how he plays.
I've convinced you, huh?
There's several factors.
If you listen to this podcast, please go read the column that I wrote where it really is history that shocked me. We're talking the Dolphins have not extended a offensive lineman that they've drafted. D-lineman that they've drafted since Paul Soliai. And before that, it was Jason Taylor. And think about the long history of good quality offensive linemen.
Defensive linemen. Come on, Omar.
Defensive linemen, the 300-pounders, I all lumped them all in, the big boys. If you look at the long history of defensive linemen and good ones that they've drafted and still not extended them, that's because they would rather replace them for cheap and not have to pay them. And so you're telling me that Christian Wilkins, the people who say Christian Wilkins deserves $15 million a year, I say to them, look at NFL contracts, and when you look at a $15 million a year player, that player is an impact player. That player is an elite player. No matter what the position is. That player you start game planning for them right after your game on Sunday. The $15 million a year players. Mm-hmm. Is Christian Wilkins a guy who you leave your game on Sunday and then say, damn, how am I going to stop Christian Wilkins?
He was against the Chargers in that Sunday night game. I remember, like, in the first quarter alone, he had like practically every other tackle the Dolphins were making, it was him. The one thing missing from Christian Wilkins' game is rushing the passer. And for an interior D lineman or a 3-4 DN, that's got to be part of the package to me to get paid the big money. And this is where I kind of shift, because the initial reflex, because we've seen Christian Wilkins get better every single year. And last year he was damn good against the run. If I look at some of the other guys, and when it came time for the Pro Bowl, I'm like, he had a great year, but he's not better than Jeffrey Simmons. He's not better than Cam Hayward. He's not better than Quinnen Williams. And there were a handful of those. And for him to get in that stratosphere, the sacks or the QB hits, the QB pressures have to come. So that's the issue there.
I think it's a great thing that they are working towards. You know how many years I've heard them working towards a contract extension with a guy on the final year of their contract, never to actually get there. Like, people have to put that all in perspective. Olivier Vernon, Jared Odrick, Kendall Langford. Who else is some of these guys? Davin Godchow. And injuries factored into that, but they were never going to pay Davin Godchow anyway. They didn't view him worth what he got on the market. And it's okay. It's okay that guys, as Mike Tannenbaum used to say, graduate from your program. So let's get into the trade talk. Okay. Chris Grier intentionally put it out there that the Dolphins are considering trading up. And hey, if you're interested in moving out, make me an offer. And I want to point out that this is a draft that's quite similar to the 2013 draft, where the Dolphins gave up a ham sandwich and probably a pack of chips to move up to get Deion Jordan, which turned out to be a mistake. This is a draft where it's not a very good draft. It's not a very deep draft in terms of blue chip caliber talents. I've heard one analyst, Bucky Brooks, say they're about 18. I haven't really done my calculations, but it's about that. So if you've got 18 blue chip guys, most years you're probably at about 24. You're probably at about 26. A lot of teams are going to be wanting to get out of the first round because they don't want to give up that money for a player that you really can get the equivalent of in the second round. Now, if you're Chris Grier, and let's say a Darnell Washington or an offensive lineman is sitting there in the lower 20s and you want to go get him, what would you be willing to offer and give up?
Well, and that's, that always becomes the $64,000 question. And it's funny you should mention the idea of trading up.
Why $64,000?
It used to be a game show.
Oh, really?
I'm old. I remember those meaningless, trivial things. You're young or younger. You don't remember. $64,000 question. That's what it refers to. Anyway, I wrote a column on alldolphins.com, which is where your Christian Wilkins column also can be found. Off an offshoot of a national media outlet was doing suggested trades for the Detroit Lions, who have 2 first-round picks. And the trade they came up with was the number 18 pick to the Dolphins for the Dolphins' 2024 first-round pick and their 6th-round pick. And my initial reaction was
6th-round pick. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Immediately was like, we're joking, right? Because obviously to get a first-round pick a year earlier, number 1, number 2, Dolphins are going to be picking lower than 18 in 2024. Chances are. To give up a 6th-round pick for that, I mean, please, where do I sign up now? Yesterday, I mean, that's so. But it got me. So even addressing that was like, I mean, come on, really? But the idea, the notion that the Dolphins potentially could entertain the idea of moving up into the first round. Obviously, it's always going to come down to what does a team want? Is the Dolphins' 3rd-round pick? Obviously, their 2024 first-round pick would come into play, yes. But we're talking to get a 2023 first-round pick for a team that's built to win now. That's fine. How much is it going to cost? Is a 3rd-round pick this year too much? Depends on the player. If, for example, Bijan Robinson, who everybody raves about, who is Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey wrapped into one or something, he is everywhere you read. And here, he's the cleanest prospect. He's a running back, can't miss. And Again, this would go against the Dolphin philosophy of picking running backs high, and they also brought back everybody else. I'm
Bro,
just throwing his name.
You know Chris Grier's history. Come on, why
I
you even
know.
bring up Bilal Johnson?
Okay, let me finish. I was using him as an example.
Bad example.
Okay,
horrible example. You know Chris Grier's not taking a running back in the first round. Horrible example.
Okay, thank you very little.
Give me a better example. Give me a better name.
I can't think of anybody. Michael Meyer, the tight end from Notre Dame.
Okay. That's a great name. Phenomenal name.
Okay, thank you. Have I redeemed myself in your eyes, Omar?
Yes,
okay
absolutely.
Now? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then it becomes, would we be willing to sacrifice the third round pick? I personally, again, this is, you need to project what kind of an impact this guy going to have, because the last thing I don't want to have is, no offense, but taking Channing Tindall in round 3 and seeing him play 9 snaps on defense or whatever it was. Again, for a team that's built to win now.
Yeah. I hear you.
So what's the right price?
One, and we've talked about this for week after week. I'm not touching 51. I'm not moving 51. I'm selecting 51. I'm not even sure I would trade 51 to move up into the first round. I would want to trade my future first rounder for 51.
Well, that's
now,
good. Yeah, at least.
Now, I was looking at the teams that have picks from 20 to 31, and seeing who could really do business and what it would cost. I feel like you'd have to give up your 2024 first round pick, which, if Tua's healthy, that's not a bad price. You're trading a future 26 for this year's 26 or 24th. And you're probably going to have to give up 84. Price isn't too steep for me to walk away from this draft with 2 possible starters, with the 5th rounder I trade up to get, and 51. You're probably going to have to throw me a little bit of some 7ths and some 6ths to sweeten the deal. And maybe I throw you next year's 3 as well. Question is, does Chris Grier feel like he needs to walk away from this draft with bodies that he can develop? Or does he feel like he needs to walk away from this draft with players that he needs to start? Walking away from his press conference, I felt like he said more than once, the next round of free agency, and there is a next round of free agency after the draft, I can feast. And I don't have to give up compensatory picks. So I think that they're in a holding and waiting pattern to get more players like Chosen Anderson. And I think that there are good players out there. You could go get a good starting defensive lineman, go get a good starting pass rusher. You could get a good starting linebacker. You could go get a corner. You can go get a starting cornerback. You could go get Jarvis Landry in the next round of free agency. He's not coming back here. But if you feel like you're a title team and you can make that push, that next round of free agency is pretty much where you lean towards, as opposed to this draft. Now, in fairness, they gotta start developing some young talent.
Okay, and this is where I'm going to interject, and I'm going to use your point against yourself here, because you just said they're not that. It's a very thin draft. It's a very thin. If it's a very thin draft, why would you not want more picks to increase your chances of hitting on a suspect draft, as opposed to keeping your pick at 51, which is why I advocated the idea, unless you have a very strong conviction of trading down from 51, to say pick up two third rounders.
Because I feel like this is a watered down draft. Now, if I'm going to be drinking from a watered down draft, I'd at least like to be drinking from the top end of it, as opposed to the filler. Now, keep in mind, even in the weakest draft, like Kittle was in a weak draft. He was a 4th rounder, I believe, in a weak draft.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So there are talents. There will be guys who become Pro Bowlers in the right system, with the right development, with the right luck. So the question is, do you have the evaluating skills to go find that player? I do believe that the Dolphins have the evaluating skills to go find that player. I'm sorry, but Marvin Allen is a stud on this staff. I've traveled and covered the NFL long enough to know he is Mr. Popular when you go to NFL settings, because everybody loves him, leans on him, relies on him. He mentors everybody. He gets information from everybody. So you can't be that good at your job and continue to whiff at these drafts like they do. If I'm Chris Grier, I just turn over my draft to Marvin Allen.
Okay, but again, to me, it goes back to what's the difference between 51 and say the end of round 3, which is about 100. And to
I'm
me,
picking
again,
I'm picking from the top 50 players, and then do I want to pick from the top 50 players, or do I want to pick from player number 50 to 120?
but you're gonna get no 50 to 100. No, you're gonna if I'm trading the 51 for 2/3, you're gonna be two guys between 65 and 100, or one guy at 51. And again, you said it's not a great draft, and everybody agrees it's not a great draft. And then if we're going to extol the virtues of Marvin Allen as an assistant GM, go find me two good guys in the 3rd round who collectively will be better than one guy.
I think they have a better chance. I think they have a better chance of finding a Cater Kadu in the undrafted market than they have of hitting on 2 3rd-rounders.
Okay, let's move on. Next topic here.
You just going to ignore that? I
don't need to rebut everything you say.
I would rather have a bird in the hand, than 2 in the bush. You want the 2 in the bush.
I think they need to replenish the roster with young draft picks on the roster. Okay, and to me,
they do.
You do that with 2 3rd-round picks as opposed to 1. Okay, Cedric Wilson. This is kind of like, it's funny because it came on the same day where the 49ers reportedly are fielding calls about Trey Lance. So the Dolphins not reportedly, Chris Grier said it, are taking calls about Cedric Wilson. Probably going.
He's not calling. He's not shopping him.
Yeah,
he's not shopping him. Make sure I'm not shopping him, but I'm trying to do right by him and find him a new home. But I'm not shopping him.
Or he's calling, leaving messages, and now he can say that the other teams are calling him. Please call me about Cedric. Please call me. And we've discussed this topic, and I'm glad that Chris Grier said it out. I've written it many, many times. So it was kind of obvious, even though it was never literally said, that when the Dolphins signed Cedric Wilson, they had this idea in their head he was going to play a big role, and then whoops, all of a sudden the chance to trade for Tyreek Hill occurs, and Cedric who again? I'm sorry. Cedric Wilson.
That doesn't explain how he got leapfrogged by Correct. 2 journeymen on the roster. And I understand that they know Mike McDaniel's offense, and one is a very good blocker. But I'm sorry, you got Debo for your job.
That's absolutely. And it was very, you and I were talking about it when we were watching practices last summer, that it was like he was badly outplayed by Trent Sherfield and by River Craycraft. It was.
Yeah, but they knew the offense, which was, yeah. But listen, for Dolphin fans, this is the important part of this conversation. Don't think you're just going to trade Cedric Wilson and then, some team's going to give us a 5th or a 6th. If Chris Grier does that, mark it down right now. He's GM of the year, because if you trade Cedric Wilson for a 5th or a 6th. And you don't have to give up any contract. You don't have to give up anything back. Woo! You killed it.
Even for a 7, just straight up for a 7 without having to retain salary would be a great trade.
Absolutely, because you're unloading that contract that you're going to cut anyway next year. So find a way to get it done. I like the fact that Chris Grier says we're trying to do right by him. We're trying to send him somewhere where the fact that we screwed him over, even though I didn't think he was a frontline starter. I'm not buying the screwed over.
Why? Because they went ahead. Are they supposed to say, Chiefs, Tyreek's available, but no, sorry, we just signed Cedric Wilson. No thanks.
The way people feel. That's the way people feel about when I say go get Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook. They're like, no. We signed Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. We can't do this. We can't.
No, but see, to me, I'm one of the. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm just saying it, and it's not an issue of loyalty. It's an issue of they obviously have a strong belief that they can get it done with Mostert, Jeff Wilson.
Yes.
And I don't know that they think that Dalvin Cook comes in and makes their running game that much better, right or wrong. That's my thing there.
I don't know. No. I think that they think that it would make their running game better. I think that they're not willing to say that I'm going to commit $8 million a year to Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry. When I would make the argument, yeah, you should. Because if you did this, you would be instantly a top 4 team when it's viewed as, hey, this is a contender for the Super Bowl. And that's what we're all trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You go get Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook. Nobody's going to look at your roster and say, they're not good enough. No, you're good enough. You might not be good enough at right tackle. But
I hope nobody ever, when I write that I have a hard time seeing Dalvin Cook coming here, I hope that nobody thinks it's because I'm suggesting that he's not better than every Dolphin running back on the roster, because he clearly is. So is Derrick Henry. I'm just saying that I don't expect it to happen.
Yes. Financially, it doesn't make sense. But if you're taking an all-in approach, which every action that you've done this offseason, except for this, has been an all-in move. Why not go all in? Why not push all your chips into the table? And Steve Ross is all about it, because he wants to win more than anybody, and he will put the money there. So if you got an owner who's willing to put the money there and figure out a way financially to make it work, and you got currency that I would trade 84 for both of those players. Now, if you don't want the third-round pick, okay, you can keep the running back, and then I'll take another stab at them next year when they're both free agents. So that's the position that you could have a third now, or I could wait a year, see where I am with these running backs, and then go get the running back. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But I do believe that Chris Grier is a very good poker player, and he's a phenomenal trader. That's probably the best thing that he does.
Yeah.
No argument, debate. And part of that, and he said it in the press conferences, because he has Steve Ross backing him, writing the big fat checks.
To write the checks, yeah. No, and the thing is, I certainly would not give up any compensation for Dalvin Cook specifically, since scuttlebutt is the Vikings don't want to pay him is remaining, even though I think they're crazy not to.
That's ridiculous. It makes no sense. It literally makes no sense why they would cut him. They've got guaranteed money associated to him. He's a commodity worth something.
But the guaranteed money is now pretty low, which is why they would consider trading him.
It's $2 million, but right. Yeah, you need you need $2 million to create cap space to sign your rookie class. Who cares? Number one, you could restructure somebody, pay them their salary in a roster bonus, and get that money. It doesn't make any sense. I think that we'll cut Dalvin Cook is to sort of drive up the market again. Everybody in the world knows Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry are on the trade block.
But the question for me then maybe, do they really need to do that? Do they need to everybody looks at the Vikings and their situation. Yeah, they know all they have to do is they were interested in making the trade for Dalvin Cook. It's called the Vikings. I mean, it's not, they don't need to have the Vikings leak out, well, we might actually consider trading him.
Consider releasing him, yeah.
It
makes no sense.
But if he does get released, then all of a sudden you start from scratch with his contract. And then this is where, if I'm the Dolphins, I certainly pick up the phone, call him and see, you're from Miami, you played at Miami Central High.
He wants to be here. He flat out wants to be
Correct.
here.
But how badly does he want to be here? That's the question. How badly does he want to be here? How much money is he willing to sacrifice to be here?
Yeah.
That's the question. And on that note, we're going to wrap up episode 8. That was a fun one.
Yeah, no, I always enjoy these conversations with you, Poop. So, a week away from the draft. We got a lot going on. Let's keep it going.
Yes, sir. Let's see a trade. Let's see another trade happening and make things fun. I don't like going to the draft without a first round pick and things like that. Anyway, Omar, until we meet again.
All right.
On this platform.